And we'll start the briefing with the topic, the volunteers' activities in the anti-terrorist operation zone. The speakers are Roman Oryshchenko, head of the Center for Support of Volunteers, Roman Pytskiv, Chernihiv battalion commander, and his deputy, Alexander Sak.
And our first briefing for today will be dedicated to the discussion of the activities of volunteers in the ATO zone. And with us will be Roman Oryshchenko, who is the head of the Center for Support for Volunteers, Roman Pytskiv, who is the commander of the Special Forces Battalion Chernihiv, and his deputy, Alexander Saker. Thank you.
Слава Україні!
Glory to Ukraine. The Center for the Support of Volunteers from the start of March, when the Russian aggression started on the territory of Ukraine, has been working in the format of companies, hundreds, and other volunteers who helped our armed forces to restore the potential and also helped in the repairs of machinery and all the necessary things. When the direct aggression started, when there is a help and support for terrorists, the Maidan Self-Defense formed the Center for Support of Volunteers that is engaged in the provision for battalions, special battalions at the Ministry of Interior, National Guards, the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and also bodyguards. There are 2 dispatch points in Kharkiv and Melitopol, northern and southern corridors, that are used to deliver help to all the units in need, and it's about food, ammunition, uniforms, and medicines, because there are combat actions there. There's sometimes very difficult situation, and in particular our guys and volunteers have gone as far away as Savur, Mohyla, and Zelenopilya, where there are combat actions. There were more than once attempts to fire at the convoy, but over all this time we were under cover of armed convoys, and we do not have any losses. We also took some wounded servicemen from the zone of anti-terrorist operation. At the moment, the biggest need is for the battalions near Luhansk and Donetsk, ammunition and infrared visors and everything that is needed for the effective fight against well-prepared separatists and terrorists. Who wants to help, who wants to join, they should contact the Center for the Support of Volunteers, and we will help to get your delivery to military units, or some volunteers may join our convoys that every week go to the zone of anti-terrorist operation, and they will directly pass on whatever they brought to our servicemen, and this way join our common victory over the terrorists. Now I give the word to the battalion commander of Chernihiv, Roman Pytskiv. His battalion is rather efficient in the zone of anti-terrorist operation. First of all, hello, I'm Roman Igorovich, the battalion commander. We are alive in spite of the reports about the so-called punitive battalion. Chernihiv was defeated and destroyed. I'm here, and all my fighters have come back alive from the zone of combat action. Of course, they are wounded. We help them to restore their forces, their strength, and they are coming back with us within the framework of rotation. From the very start, how we created the battalion, there was an order from Andrei Porubiy that company commanders should go to the so-called far barricades And I want to thank Arsen Avakov and other guys who entrusted me to command the battalion. Most of the guys who were with me on Maidan are now with me in the battalion. I do not want to emphasize the participation on only the Maidan guys, because very many good guys from Chernihiv and the rest of Ukraine have joined our battalion, and they are with us, and there were no complaints from our commanders or from local population. I'll tell you more. 4 cities where we were taking part in combat action. You know, we went through, I would say, training in the city of Swatovo, and we had 11 road checkpoints in Luhansk region, for which we were responsible. Then we evacuated all the road checkpoints because the army went further, and we followed the army. It was in Kremina, Donetsk, Severodonetsk, Lysychansk. I got very much surprised in Severodonetsk because people were reacting very positively, and I was also surprised that people painted one of local fences with the words of gratitude to our battalion, which proves that my guys are working adequately and efficiently. A great number of terrorists, but I would not want to use worse words, were detained and delivered to our headquarters. Specialists are working with them. A great amount of weapons was confiscated. The well-known cannon Zaika was confiscated. The 5th floor, just for you to know, was their listening in devices. They had a lot of listening in equipment there with instructions about how to listen to phone calls, how to break the security of different social networks. We have confiscated all this and registered and passed on to specialists. You know, the day when General Radzievsky died, we were in Lysychansk on that day, and our task was to provide cover and retreat for those guys that stayed there because they were without any ammunition. 33 people together with me entered the city. We took away everyone whom we could, and we came back. Again, I emphasize, everyone is alive. We don't have any deadly casualties. As far as requirements are concerned, I want to thank our Kiev friends, our Chernihiv friends, all the volunteers who are helping us, because at the moment we are fully supplied with body armor, also with Kevlar helmets. We're receiving Kevlar helmets, night vision devices, radios. I thank very, very much the people, because we work there efficiently, because we are helped by the people. If you're interested in anything, thank you. Any questions?
Your place of dislocation is at Lysychansk, now Severodonetsk. Also, in the battalion, we have a special group, and under the order of the general of 30 people, and they are responsible for clearing cities, counterintelligence, for arresting certain personalities who are trying to collect intelligence. What we did useful in that area, the only unit which was efficient on blog posts, I'm not afraid to say that, because we got, without any explanation, we were guided only by the law fight against terrorism. So we arrested all the memory sticks. We checked mobile phones and computers, and only because of that, because they weren't ready, that we would take their mobile phones and we would look at the context pictures and SMS and calls, everything, and only. And we arrested about 20 people just because of mobile phones, and they were prepared. Documents were ready. The car was clean, but they were not wanted. But they were terrorists. They were cooperating with terrorists. In Lysychansk, it means that those gunmen were local or from Chechnya. Local also participated in that, but we arrested some Chechens. And in Lysychansk, there were Chechens. I just came from ATO area, and when I spoke to our military men, and they say they allowed a lot of Chechens to go through block posts, through checkpoints, and I am responsible for my people. None of those Chechens went through our checkpoints. When we came closer to Lysychansk, we completely closed the entrance to the city, just to prevent civilian casualties, women, children, young women, men, all civilians. They came with white flags and white ribbons or tapes, and we checked them and they left. And this is an awful picture. There were cars filled with people were trying to take everything, and they were trying to flee away from that area. That's why, as to the information that Chechens went through our checkpoints, that's not true. I have a question to you, Roman. In ATO area, how's the situation with medicine? Because the armed forces and special battalions went forward, we had a problem with medicine, and the last thing we did in Shastin hospital, we collected all medicine there, and a lot of sets for surgeons, special medicines for surgery. For a time when there were our special units, and there was only one table for surgery, but there were a lot of wounded, and you had to give assistance, and from Aidar battalion and from other units and special units. That's why we sent additional 4 or 5 tables for surgery and additional equipment and crunchers. And for those who were lightly wounded, they were treated there, operated there, and they were staying there. With heavy wounds, they were shipped to Kharkiv, and the main need was IPP, military medical aids and painkillers, anti-shock medicine. National Guard, special units, they need them. Also, we coordinate this work with Ukrainian guerrilla groups, and who are there in the rear of the enemy, and they help the armed forces on the front line, and they just they provide information on equipment, and sometimes they hit the gunmen, and sometimes they need medicine and products, food, ammunition, because they cannot get it from any other source. Only from our center and from security service and with which they cooperate. That's why we need medicine. Yes. Thank you. Tell me, please. You speak about medicine. It's very difficult to buy it in a pharmacy. If somebody comes to you and gives you money, do you have channels? So do you have contacts where you can get anti-shock preparations? You cannot buy them anywhere. If people come and say we are ready to help, and we say yes, well, there are some pharmaceutical companies where you can buy that. We ask them to go and buy. Don't give us money, just provide what we need, and help the way you can. Are you legally registered? And what about salary? Do you receive your officially all all 100% of my people, they have a credential that they are a part of Ministry of Interior and a special battalion Chernihiv. All of them, they receive a salary. All of them received a bonus for ATO. There's none among us who left to ATO and who did not receive an official document. Thank you. Tell me, please, from our center, Ukrainian people are quite active. They help the National Guard and also to Ukrainian armed forces and to special battalions through social networks and through different organizations like yours. We have an impression that there is a flow of assistance. On the other hand, sometimes there are messages or announcements or letters. People are just surprised. On one hand, it seems like trucks, the aid is going on trucks, but when they come to ATO area, like journalists or civic activists, they see that the battalions are not equipped. They don't. They sleep just on the ground without sleeping sacks. So the question is, do you know about any like illegal or not honest activities? I can speak about for my battalion. Anyone on the street who comes and who signs that he's in the battalion of Chernihiv and that we are all hungry and that we are all naked and barefoot, you can send that person to SBU, because we use our old channels, and only through the headquarters, only we rely on people we tested and they help. And one Teplovisa costs 50,000 hryvnia. One visa. All of that we control. Someone on the street who's trying to collect money on the street, and they say that we don't have footwear, or no, we have footwear for everyone has a sleeping bag and a little mat and also footwear. And there is a big problem with transportation, with cars. We don't have cars in our battalion. That is a problem. But if somebody is trying to raise some other assistance for us, don't believe them. I have a question to you. There is this information, and from different sources we receive some rumors, some stories of people, and you don't imagine. And you're alive here, you say everything is fine. You don't know how you can trust other people, because always they speak about somebody betrays someone, that a brigade, a battalion, a unit is under crossfire. I was called 72nd Brigade is under crossfire, and they don't know who's going to help them. They are shooting from Russia, and gunmen are shooting them. And yesterday I heard the story that the commanders left soldiers and they were killed just in the field, and nobody speaks about that in mass media. And there are a lot of such stories. Did you face such things that the commanders betrayed you, or there are some bribes provided from Russia that officers leave their soldiers, the boys don't know how to fight and they don't know how to hold even machine guns. They don't know what to do. So there is some unprofessionalism and betrayal. Maybe not in your battalion. What can you say about these rumors? A very good question.
A good question, I can tell you. The word treachery, treason, since 15 years, when I sort of thought about my life, I don't like it at all. If I see such a person, I will have a separate conversation with them. I didn't see them, but of course there are rumors. I don't know a single commander who would send his guys to the battle and would sit somewhere in the headquarters and paint the maps. Yes, we do all this, but we do this in our spare time. I am always with my guys, everywhere and every type. As far as professionalism is concerned, I'll tell you, yes, well, of course, there are guys who haven't served in the army, but I have a lot of specialists in the battalion who train them. I have guys who served in the army in special police units. There are people from Afghanistan, and I distributed the young people so that in any platoon there are at least 2 specialists who have served in the army. Within a couple of weeks, we became on such a level, when we, together with Alpha and Sokol, enter cities and capture them, I think this tells about some level of preparedness. My question is to Mr. Oryshchenko. Your volunteers in the ATO zone, are they helping just the armed forces of anti-terrorist operation, or are they also helping local population or internally displaced persons? First of all, we aim our help to the battalions, and we are contacting many volunteer groups, both big and small. And it happens, like, for instance, people go to some battalions and they don't see anything there, but we know those requirements, and some people would gather in a district center or anywhere, and they would say, whom shall we deliver our help? And we tell them that you should go there and there, for instance, to the battalion that stands on the front line and they don't have connection with base. So we are sort of aiming them at different battalions. Of course, there are cases when there's a need in a lot of body armor or helmets, and together with commanders responsible for the rear, we try to channel this help where it is needed. Any other questions? Could you tell us whether, well, you don't have any dead in your battalion, glory to God, but how many wounded? 4 wounded, 3 of them got fragment wounds from artillery firing, from grenade firing, and 1 was hit by a submachine fire. I'd like to give the word to my deputy. He is responsible for training and for recruiting. I'd like to add to what the commander of the battalion said, that our battalion started to be formed in the end of April, and the first group of people came from Maidan. They came to Chernihiv to us, and they were the skeleton of young people who came to us just from Maidan. Over a short period of time, we created our battalion, and people started to join it from Chernihiv self-defense, from the right sector. Former policemen started to come to us. You know, I am a retired policeman, but I put on my shoulder blades and started to help to recruit the battalion. At the moment, we are practically in full size, and if previously we were doing rotation in parts, then now we are ready for a full-scale rotation. Like the number of people who are in the zone of anti-terrorist operation, we can exchange for those people who are on the place of location of our battalion, where they are learning different statutes and undergoing different training. But of course, the major part of the time goes for firing training and combat training. The young people who joined us, not all of them served at the army, but they have You know, I was in the anti-terrorist operation zone as well. During the first rotation, I came back to Chernihiv, and I saw how real men are being formed from young boys who are brave in defending our motherlands without any remorse, without any fear. But of course, there's fear in everybody, but it is an adequate fear. But in general, the battalion is absolutely prepared to take part in combat action in order to defend the territorial integrity of our state. Of course, we do have problems. There are some problems, like, for instance, there's an order of the Ministry of Interior about the medical treatment. There are some people who want to serve, but the medical checkup would not allow them to join. And another point which was unexpected for us, when we went for a tour of service, it turned out that the term of the tour of duty is no more than 30 days. And if it is longer, then we have to prepare the new documents and new papers, and this affected how we got the money, or rather how we did not get the money, and the bureaucratic system of gathering the new papers and new certificates of the tour of duty. But I think that this will be regulated on the level of the Ministry of Interior, because these are old orders and resolutions issued several years ago. As a veteran of police who has served more than 27 years in this system, I think that the ministry will listen to it and will probably suspend this order for the period of the anti-terrorist operation. I'd like also to point out that the material supply and machinery supply is not the problem of just the Chernihiv Department of Internal Affairs. This is the problem of our entire state. We are not provided with automobile transportation. Never the state will be rich while the people are poor. When the Ukrainian people are rich, then the state will be rich as well. We'd like to see changes in our country, some even radical changes, even during the combat action in the territory or in the zone of anti-terrorist operation. Thank you very much. We have to, could you introduce yourself? Deputy Commander of Special Battalion Chernihiv, Police Colonel Alexander Saker. I want to thank you on behalf of everybody. Please stay alive and useful for our state. Please go to us to convey good news to us. Thank you, thank you.